Hi, and welcome back to Purple Collar Life. I'm Chad. We're with the Ford 8N tractor, and today's video is the result of another viewer request. The question was about this oil bath air cleaner on the Ford 8N, 2N, and 9N tractors. This same system is actually used on the Jubilee, the NAA, our Workmaster, the 600 series, the 800 series. There are some slight variations. If you look at even the newer version of the Ford 8N, there's oftentimes a little bowl out here that catches some debris before it even goes into the air intake. But let's talk about this oil bath air cleaner system, the importance and the mistake I see a lot of people make, including some of those old-time farmers. These two levers can be pushed down and allow the front piece of the grill to open. Now you can see ours makes contact with our front bumper, so we'll open it carefully. But what I see too many people doing is running their tractor with the radiator all clogged up. A lot of debris gets pulled in here, especially if you're brush hogging or making hay out in the field. So you want to make sure you keep this nice and clear of all this debris so that the engine doesn't overheat. So that's airflow bonus tip to this video. Now the key to this video is understanding how important clean air is to the system. We know that the carburetor, this Marble Schebler carburetor, is mixing air and gasoline to feed the intake manifold, to feed the spark plugs, to create the spark, to make the ignition, to make the engine run. So you need the appropriate mix of fuel, gasoline, and air. Now this air coming into the carburetor is fed through this air tube. You can't see it, but it's underneath the hood up here. And it's actually from this canister that we're going to talk about today. But before we even get into the internal guts of this canister, let's talk about step one, where the air actually starts, and that's right here. Like I mentioned, some of the newer Ford 8N tractors actually have a pre-filter out here that usually captures bees and bugs before it would enter into this. But you can see what we have here: air louvers and a screen. Now that's just to keep the big stuff from getting into this hole, which then feeds the air into the canister down below it. So it is important once in a while to check that these louvers aren't clogged and the screen behind it is not clogged. Now there's kind of a lot of magic that happens inside this canister. It's a pretty cool engineering system. This bottom cup that we're about to take off should be full to the appropriate level with oil. That oil, when the engine's running, wicks up through the material that's in this part of the canister to keep that material wet. Any of the dust coming in or debris catches on that wet wick of material. Then that wick of material and the oil both act as an air filtration system, cleaning the air before it gets fed to the carburetor. When you turn the engine off, the oil naturally drains back down through that material and into this bowl, where then it settles at the bottom over time and accumulates all that dust and debris here at the bottom of the bowl. So it's a really cool system how the air coming in is going to be caught in this material, capture the dust and dirt before that air then goes back up through the center tube and in through the carburetor. Really a cool system, but it's important that it works right. And I see a lot of people make a big mistake when it comes to the oil in this canister. So now that I think about it, maybe there's actually two mistakes with this system that I've noticed. The first one might be that for long amounts of time, people don't even check the oil in here to see if it's clean or maintain it. And then the second one is, and this is the one I was originally thinking of, and this started way back when farmers were changing oil on their tractors. They would use the oil that they've drained out of the oil pan, the dirty oil, to refill this cup. And the reason I say that's a big mistake is this cup serves a really important purpose, cleaning that air before it goes into the carburetor, before it goes into the engine. So you want to make sure that you're not using already dirty oil or already oil that's lost its life in this cup. I'm going to use the same weight oil that's used in the tractor, 15W40, so it's thick enough that it doesn't just suck up into the air intake. If you use too thin of an oil, potentially it could actually get sucked all the way into the carburetor. If you use too thick of an oil, like gear oil, it's not going to be able to wick its way up through this material, this mesh material, to serve its purpose of cleaning the air. So the viscosity that I like to use is the same that we use in the engine. It's diesel oil, 15W40. Now I read in the manual, and I'll put a piece in here from that manual. Again, this is the 1948 manual that came with this Ford tractor. I mentioned in a previous video, I keep that manual here on my phone so I can scroll through it whenever I have a question, and I'll put the PDF link down in the description below. But the manual says in the wintertime, if you're in a northern climate like this, you may want to thin that oil with a little bit of kerosene. With using the 15W40 oil, I've never needed to do that. It is thin enough that it can wick up through, but thick enough that it doesn't get sucked into the air intake and into the carburetor. Another note, if you're interested in how the oil change works in this tractor, we will be making a video on that coming up before wintertime here, as well as a video on how to change the transmission fluid. This tractor uses 5 gallons of hydraulic transmission fluid to run the transmission and the hydraulics and the rear differential. So that will be an upcoming video here on Purple Collar Life. To remove this canister, we're just going to wipe it down a little bit here first. You want to release the 2 clips. There's one right here. You can see how that's holding it in place. One on this side, so you want to hold on to it when you release it. Then you need both of these to be not holding on to the cup, both sides, as you pull down. And there is our cup of oil. You can see it does have an oil level indicator. You can kind of read it here on the outside. There you go. Oil level, you can see that on the inside. That's how full you want your oil to be. We're a little bit low, but let me show you what's in the bottom of there. Now, I don't know if because of the shadow that's created, if you can see the stuff that's inside there or not, but there is good oil in there, and there's debris floating on top. But let me show you what's in the bottom. I'm going to dump this out into our used oil container, and then we'll take a look in the bottom of this. You can see a lot of seeds in that pan that were stuck here in the oil. So that shows that it's doing its job. It's filtering the air, pulling those little seeds out. You can imagine you wouldn't want those feeding into the carburetor. And that, if you can see it, I'm not in the way of the sun, is how much stuff is stuck in the bottom. So you want to get that all wiped out. I mentioned that mesh media that the oil pulls up through to filter the air. Let's see if we can get you a view of it there. Right there it is. Just going to use an old rag to reach down in there and clean out both the inner cup section and the outer section. So you can kind of tuck the rag in there like that. Use your finger, push it around, and I'm just going to dump it. I don't know if you can see that, how much we've gathered up there. I'm going to dump it in this same bin. There in our pan you can see more of that dust and grime that came out when I cleaned it out. There's how nice and clean it is now. Looks pretty good. Now, if it was really caked in there, you'd want to use some kerosene and let it sit for a little bit, let it soak. Use that kerosene solvent to loosen that stuff up and then clean it out. But ours is looking really good. We are ready to add oil back up to that oil level as indicated. I did have some kerosene here with me just in case, but we got that cup so clean without it, it wasn't necessary. Now, Dad had actually just cleaned this out and put new oil in it before he brush hogged the hill. So that's how quickly stuff accumulates in there. If you read the instruction manual, it says once a day you should check and clean that. It even says that sometimes in heavy applications, you should do it more than once a day, but that typically once a day is enough. I can tell you we do not check this once a day, but we do check it regularly enough to make sure we're getting that clean air into the carburetor, into the engine. It's extremely important. You want to use clean oil. That's what we're going to do right now. Like I said, for our climate, we are using 15W40 diesel oil. People will often ask, do you just fill the inside cup or the outside cup? You want to fill all of it. You can actually see that little hole. There's 4 of those, and they let the fluid flow between the outer cup and the inside cup, but you don't want to overfill it, just to that level. So let's do that. If you fill the inner cup too much, it'll just flow to the outside. Takes about 1/2 of a quart to do this. So we are at that oil level indicator. We'll spin it to the outside so we can see that. You want to put your clips back on the bottom of the bowl to hold it in place. Both sides. Make sure it's on there good and tight. I have really enjoyed our Ford 8N series lately based on questions that we've been asked about this tractor. So keep those questions coming. Leave them down in the comments down below. I can answer the question down there, but it also might inspire a video idea to help out other people. Now, I've got a whole playlist of Ford 8N tractor content. How to brush hog, how to start and operate, how to check the fuel level, how much fuel you're going to need. Like I said, we're going to be adding to that with an oil change process, the transmission fluid change process. All of that is upcoming. But if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel and you love Ford 8N tractor content, make sure you click that subscribe button. Click that like button down below. That helps promote this video to a wider audience and helps grow the channel so that more people can see content about our rural living here in Northwest Pennsylvania. Purple Collar Life is the channel about our combination of our white-collar day job sitting in an office and our blue-collar lifestyle being out here in the woods cutting firewood, using chainsaws, log splitters, tractors, maintaining a homestead here on family land. Thanks for watching. Like I've mentioned in other videos, this Ford 8N tractor has been here on the homestead for 76 years. This is a 1948 Ford 8N tractor, been with our family on this family land its entire life. Thanks for watching. If you found the video informative and entertaining, click that thumbs up down below, leave those comments, share this video with a friend who might also appreciate this type of content, or if they've been asking you, hey, how do I know about that oil air bath in my tractor? Or if they haven't been asking you, maybe they don't even know that that's something that needs regularly serviced. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll see you again the next time. Now I'm going to take a quick ride up through the woods here just to make sure that air is flowing through okay, and listen to the purr of this thing run.